Hey everyone, I am the Ziulian Alburo, and for today I am going to talk or to tackle the book from chapter 7, which talks about the mathematics of finance. And today I am going to discuss the simple interest. So, what is simple interest? Simple interest is calculated only on the original amount or the original principal amount and is paid at the end of the loan period. Interest, it is the fee or rent that lender charge to borrowers for the temporary use of the borrowed money. Principal, it is the amount borrowed. Rate of interest is defined as the percentage of the principal that will be charged for a specified period of time. So here are the following variables that will be in our mathematical treatment of simple interest. So here are the following symbols or letters that we are going to use in order to form that stands as for the following formula nga atong gamiton later in order to complete the value or ang tinuod na process on how to get the simple interest. And here are the sum interest formulas. So here, in order for us to get the answer from the problem, so mo lang ni nga formulas ang atong gamiton. Let's move on in determining the time period. To find the due date, we must determine the number of days in each month. Then we simply compute month by month the number of days from one date to another. Loan date, it is the first day of a loan and due date, or it is often called as maturity date, which serves for the last day of the loan. So here are the following tables that we are going to use in order to determine the time period. So here, the number of days of each month. So from the month of January to December. And we have to take note that if it is leap year, February will have 29 days. So here at the second table, which serves as the days in a year. And also we have to take note that for leap years, add 1 to each number for the table after February 28. The time period should be determined using the number of days involved. There are two ways in determining the time period. It may be approximate or actual time. So what are these two? Approximate time uses 30 days in every month, while actual time uses the exact amount of days in every specific month as shown in table 7.1. So here is the first example. We are going to find the actual approximate time from March 3 to September 10, 2017. So here are the following solution. So first, in order to get the actual time here, we are just going to subtract 31 by 3 since there are 31 days in a month of March. Then the answer is 28. Then copy lang gyapon, mag-base lang gyapon ang answer ani sa 7.1 nga table sa gikan sa April to August. And then copy sa 10 sa gikan sa September 10 gikan diri and mo siya ang atong answer. And then same lang gyapon sa approximate time 30, then i-minus lang gyapon of 3, 27. All in all, there is an answer of 187. So here is the alternative solution determining the actual time in using 7.2. So may taon na to ang September 10 and March 3. So mo ni siya ang mga days nila, mga days. Then we are just going to subtract it. So the answer is 191 days. So same gihapon sa method diri nga atong gigamit sa table. There are 191 days in actual time while 187 days in approximate time. So second example, we are just going to find the actual and approximate time from November 28 to 18, 2015 to May 9, 2016. So here is the solution. Since ang 2016 is leap year, so mag-add lang tao, the February will contain 29 days. So ingani na dahil ang solution. So ingani. So ang naduwag lang diri is that February nga 29 since na leap year man. So nga na lang gihapon ang pagkuha, same method sa example 1. Here is also the some alternative method based using table 7.2. So pangitaon lang ay una kay minus na dayon nato ang pila ang days sa December 31 sa 365 man, so i-minus sa pila ka days since 322. So morning answer, and then pangitaon ang May 9 tas 16 since leap year man in this 129 siya, then himong 130, so the answer is 173. So there are 173 days in actual time while 171 days in approximate time. Let's move on to exact and ordinary interest. Exact interest computed in 303 in a 365 days in a year as a time factor denominator, while the ordinary interest is the type of interest wherein the number of days is computed based on 360 days in a year. We have to take note that rate must be converted to a decimal or fraction before submitting to any formula, and the time period is computed in terms of years. This means that time period expressed in months or days must be converted to a fraction of a year before being substituted into a formula for t unless stated otherwise. So here is the example 3. We are going to find the interest of value or sa atong principal amount, and then mo ni siya nga to ang rate. So atong pangitaon are the following. So this one. So here is the given, the principal amount, and the rate. So first lang gihap na tong to determine is the approximate and actual time. So here, and in order to get the ordinary interest and exact interest, we are going to use this formula. Interest is equal to principal amount times rate times the time period. So we have to remember the actual time is 155 and the approximate time is 152. So in ani ang gamiton nato in order to mabase nato siya sa gikan sa mga sa table, o ang i-base po nato gikan sa given. So ang given nato diri is one ang principal amount is 28,700, then ang rate kay 0.073. Then multiplied na siya, then we are going to quandary kini siya kay ang time hagikan sa approximate sa actual time, then i-divide sa ordinary interest, which is 360. So divide lang na siya in order to get the answer. So same method lang gyapon diri, but we have to be kanang to be attentive na if ordinary interest na gipangita, so 360 during denominator, then kung exact interest, then 365 ang denominator. Kung actual time, ang numerator is 155, then approximate time is 152. So in order to get the correct answer of that certain problem. Thus, ordinary interest using actual time or the banker's rule provides the highest interest, when the lowest generated interest is exact interest using approximate time. That's all. Thank you for listening. I hope you gain some knowledge and information about simple interest. Have a great day, everyone.
Hi everyone, I am Kristine Rheajoy Garcia, and I am the second reporter of Team 5 or Group 5. And my topic is about compound interest. So what is compound interest? So compound interest is the procedure in which interest is periodically calculated and added to the principal. The time interval between succeeding interest calculations is called the conversion period or compounding period or the interval period. The interest earned during a period is converted to principal at the end of the period because the principal and the interest are combined and treated as the new principal for the succeeding period. And the compound frequency or conversion frequency is the number of compoundings that take place in a year. The common compounding or conversion frequencies and the corresponding compounding or conversion periods encountered are listed in the table. So the nominal interest is the stated annual interest rate on which the compound interest calculation is based. The periodic interest rate is the rate of interest earned in one conversion period. So these are the following variables that will be our mathematical treatment of compound interest. So you have the capital letter F, okay, letter F, the maturity value of the loan or investment, and the capital letter P, principal amount of the loan or the investment. Capital letter I, amount of interest paid or received. The small letter J is the nominal interest rate. And the small letter M is the number of conversion per year. And the small letter T stands for the time period or the term of the loan or investment. Then small letter I, periodic interest rate. Then small letter N is the number of conversions of the loan. So the formula for the maturity value of a compound interest will be derived. The symbol P and F are again used. So again, the letter F is the maturity value of the loan or investment. Then the letter P is the principal amount of the loan. So it is used to represent the principal amount and maturity, respectively, of the loan or investment. The general problem is to determine the maturity value at the end of n conversion periods if the periodic interest at the rate is earned each period. The periodic interest rate, I, the small letter I, is computed by dividing the nominal interest rate by the number of conversions per year. So, in symbol, it is small letter I, then equals J divided by M, or J over M. And on the other hand, number of conversions of the loan N is the product of time period and number of conversions per year. So, it will be N equals time T times M. Okay. So we have the steps on how to get the maturity value. We have step 1, step 2, step 3 to step N that we can get our until we can get our maturity value. And the successive steps are linked by the fact that the combined principal and interest at the end of any period becomes a new beginning principal for the next period. We can view the derivation of the compound interest formula in a tabular presentation as shown in the table. So as you can see, that's the table. And with the use of the mathematical manipulation of the formula, we will arrive with the other compound interest formula. So F equals P multiply or times 1 plus I raised to the power of n. Or P and P equals F over 1 plus I times n raised to the power of n. Then or P equals F times 1 plus I then raised to the power of negative n. And then I equals F minus P. So this is, and I will give you a simple example on how to compute the compound interest. So we had the example, what will be the maturity value of 12,000 pesos invested for 4 years at 15% compounded quarterly? So this is a solution and these are the given. So principal, so we have 12,000 pesos. And M, you remember M. So M is the number of conversion per year. So kay quarterly man siya, so 4. The M is 4. Then ang T is time, so there's given 4 years, so our T is 4. Then the N is T times M. So, 4 times 4 equals 16. So, ang J kay percent man siya, dapat ato siya himong decimal. So, 0.15. So, I is the periodic interest rate. So, the formula for periodic interest rate is J over or divided by M. So, 0.15 divided by 4 is 0.0375. Okay. So, the maturity value will be, so we will use the formula F equals P times 1 plus I raised to the power of N. So, the solution will be F equals 12,000 times 1 plus 0.0375 raised to the power of 16. Then 12,000 times 1.0375 raised to the power of 16. And 12,000 times 1.802227,807, which is equals to 21,626.73 pesos. So the investment from 12,000 pesos will grow to 21,626.73 pesos after 4 years. So I will give you to our next reporter, which is Gynn.
Good day, everyone. Good day to you as well, ma'am. So before anything else, or before I will start my report, allow me to introduce myself first. I am Gynn Vallecera from the Ascend English 2-3. So I will be going to report about my assigned topic, the consumer loans and credit cards. So first, I will be tackle about credit card. So credit card is one of the most widely used by individuals to pay purchase without bringing cash on hand. Granting credit by the lender involves a trust relationship within the borrower promises to repay the loan with interest in a predetermined payment arrangement. So before I continue my discussion, I have a question first. So why in granting credit involves a trust relationship? Okay, so as we all know that when we talk about credit, it's all about borrowing money or it's all about money. That's why it involves a trust relationship between the provider and the borrower. Because as we all know that trust is the most aspect of a successful business. And it also provides a sense of safety. That's why it involves a trust relationship. So furthermore, a borrower who appears trustworthy can promise an interest rate lower than a borrower who appears less trustworthy and has the same probability of being funded. So, credit card is also a plastic card that contains information and authorizes the person whose name appears on it to charge purchases or services to his or her account for which he or she will be later billed. So later, we will be apply the following formula to compute for the credit card transaction. So next, I will be tackled about the average daily balance. So in the credit card companies, they use the average daily balance method to calculate finance charge on a credit card account. Average daily balance or the ADB track the daily transactions in a credit account. So credit card providers, they first compute the advanced daily balance of a credit card transaction, which is equal to the quotient between the sum of the amounts of owned each day of the given month and the number of days in the billing period. Then, finance charge is being computed based from the average daily balance or the ADB times the interest rate per month. And lastly, the current balance will be computed. So the computation for cash advances is also included. So I have here the equation on how to get the average daily balance. So the average daily balance is equal to the sum of the total amounts owned each day of the month divided by the number of days in the billing period. So next, I will be going to tackle about finance charge. So the finance charge, it is an amount paid in excess of the cash price. It is the cost of the customer for the use of credit. Most credit card company issue monthly bills. The most common type of interest charge on the amount of money borrowed. Finance charges exist in the form of a percentage fee such as annual interest or as a flat fee such as transaction fee or account maintenance fee. So in short, finance charge refers to the cost related in borrowing money. So I have here the formula on how to get the finance charge. So finance charge is equal to ADB or the average daily balance times the periodic rate. So I have here an example. Sophia made a 3,500 pesos purchase on March 7, a 10,700 pesos purchase on March 19, and cash advance of 10,000 pesos on March 21, using her credit card, which previously had zero balance. Her monthly statements are billed on the 31 of each month. The interest on the average daily balance is 2.5% per month, and for cash advances is 2%. So, find the finance charge and the balance owed on March 31 bill. So, before giving the step on how to get the finance charge or the average daily balance, we need to prepare first a table indicating the unpaid balance for each purchase, the number of days the balance is owed, and the product of these amounts. So the step 1, we must to calculate the daily balances. So as you can see in the table, there is a date, payments are purchased, unpaid balance, number of days until balance changes, and the unpaid balance times the number of days. On March 7, Sophia purchased 3,500 pesos. So, it listed an unpaid balance that 3,500 pesos is purchased on March 7. On March 19, Sophia also purchased 10,700 pesos. So, we will be going to add 10,700 plus 3,500, which is purchased by Sophia on March 7 and on March 19. So, the total of 14,200. So, on March 19, Sophia unpaid balance is 14,200 pesos. So, on March 21, Sophia gave her cash advance, which is 10,000 pesos. Then we will be going to add 14,200 pesos plus 10,000 is equal to 24,200. So the number of days until balance changes. So we will be going to count the date from March 7 to March 18, equal to 12 days. On March 19 to March 20 is 2 days, and March 21 to 31 is 11 days. So we will be going to multiply the unpaid balance and the number of days until balance changes. So 3,500 times 12 is equal to 42,000 pesos. 14,200 pesos times 2 is equal to 28,400 pesos. 24,200 times 11 is equal to 242,000 pesos. So the total of 312,400 pesos. So the amount owed on March 31 is the beginning unpaid balance less any returns or payments plus the new charges and the finance charge. So the sum of the total amounts owed by Sophia each day of the month is 312,400 pesos, and the total number of days from March 1 to March 31 is 31 days. So step 2, we need to compute for the average daily balance. So the formula is the average daily balance is equal to the sum of the amounts owed each day of the month divided by the number of days in the billing period. So average daily balance or ADB is equal to 312,400 pesos divide 31, which is the 31 is the days. So is equal to 10,077.42 pesos. So the step 3, we need to find the total finance charge. So we first compute for the finance charge and cash advance fee, then solve for the total finance charge. The formula on how to get the finance charge is the finance charge is equal to the ADB or the average daily balance times the periodic rate. So finance charge is equal to 10,077.42 pesos times 0.0225 is equal to 251.94 pesos. So the formula on cash advance fee is the amount of cash advance times rate. So cash advance fee is equal to 10,000 pesos times 0.02 is equal to 200 pesos. So the formula on how to get the total finance charge is equal to the regular finance charge plus the cash advances fee. So total finance charge is equal to 251.94 plus 200 pesos is equal to 451.94 pesos. So next, the step 4. We need to determine the current balance. So current balance is equal to previous balance minus payments plus the new charges plus finance charge. So the current balance is 0 and the payments is 0. So we're going to add the new charges and the finance charge, which is the new charges is 24,200 plus the finance charge, which is the 451.94 pesos is equal to 24,651.94 pesos. So the total finance charge is 451.94 pesos and the current balance is 24,651.94 pesos. So this time, I will be going to tackle about the annual percentage rate. So the annual percentage rate or the APR is the effective annual interest rate, which is the basis of the credit payments. So the principle behind the APR or the annual percentage rate is that only the unpaid balance will earn interest. So the annual percentage rate or the APR of a simple interest rate can be estimated by the formula. So this is the formula on how to get the annual percentage rate. So APR is equal to 2MR divide M plus 1, where M is the number of payments and the R is the simple interest rate. So I have here an example. So Redemptor borrows 66,000 pesos from the bank that advertises a 7% simple interest rate and repays to the loan in 6 equal monthly payments. So we need to find the finance charge and estimate the annual percentage rate. So I have here a solution. So the given is the M is equal to 6, which is the 6 months, and the R is equal to 7%, equivalent to the 0.07. So the step 1, we need to determine first the finance charge. So finance charge is equal to amounts finance times finance rate. So finance charge is equal to 66,000 times 0.07 is equal to 4,620 pesos. So step 2, we need to estimate the annual percentage rate. APR is equal to X is equal to 2MR over M plus 1. So the APR is equal to 2 and the 6 is the 6 months and the average rate is 0.07, which is the 7% over 6 plus 1 is equal to 0.12 or 12%. So the finance charge is 4,620 pesos and the APR is 12%. So next, I will be going to tackle about consumer loans. So most consumer loans apply the APR interest rate such as a car loan, housing loan, furniture loan, appliance loan, and other types of loan with regular payment schedule. So the payment amount for these loans is given by the following formula. So I have here the formula on how to get the consumer loans. So R is equal to AI over 1 minus 1 plus I raised to the power of negative n. So the R is the regular payment, A is for loan amount, and R is annual interest rate, and T is the number of years, and M is the number of payments per year, and N equals TM, which is the number of years and the number of payments per year, and I is equal to R plus M. So I have here an example. So RFS Electronics is offering customers who purchase the latest model of smartphones an annual interest rate of 9% for 3 years. If Marisol purchased an iPhone 8 for 46,700 pesos from RFS Electronics, determine her quarterly payment. So, we need to determine her quarterly payment. So, I have here the solution. So, the given is the A is 46,700 pesos is the loan amount, and R is 9% is equivalent for 0.09, and the M is the 4 quarterly payment, and the T is the number of years is equal to 3 years. So on how to get the I, we need to divide the R divide M. So the R is 0.09 divide 4 is equal to 0.0225. So the I is the 0.0225. So on how to get the N, we need to multiply the T and M. So the T is 3 years and the M is 4. So 3 times 4 is equal to 12. So here is the solution. R is equal to 46,700, which is the loan amount, and the 0.225 is the I over 1 minus and 1 plus 0.225 raised to the power of negative 12 is equal to 4,484.01 pesos. So the quarterly payment for the smartphone is 4,484.01 pesos. So that's the end of my topic. I hope that you learned something. Thank you and God bless everyone.
So good morning everyone, this is Starshine Agbon from Group 5, and in this video we will going to discuss about the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So without further ado, let's start. So what is stocks and bonds and mutual funds? Before we will going to learn how to compute these three, we will first learn what are the words or the terms that is related to the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So in this topic, we will investigate stocks or equities, which represents ownership, share of a corporation, and bonds or debts that represent a loan in the form of an interest-bearing note in which the bond buyer lends money to the bond issues. So, what is stocks? Companies can raise money either by borrowing or selling shares of stocks to finance operations, plan expansion, and others. If the company raises money by means of selling shares of ownership, this ownership called stocks. So stocks is also called company share. So the buyer of stocks are called stockholders. So if you were going to buy a stock, you are called stockholders. So stockholders receive stock certificate to verify the number of shares of stock they own. So a bond. A bond is a promise from the company to pay the face value of the bond owner at a future date along with interest payment at a stated rate. When the company issues bond, they are traded as stock. Next is the par value or the face value of the par value of bond is the original amount of the money borrowed by a company. So, like for example, the company borrowed Mr. Manansala 15 million pesos. That 15 million pesos there is the par value, that which is the original amount of the money, the original amount of the money borrowed by a company. Next is the dividends. Dividends are a distribution of company's profits to its shareholders. So if you are a stakeholders or a shareholders, you will be given a dividend. Next is the preferred stock. Preferred stock is a class of corporate stock in which the investor has preferential rights over the common shareholders to dividends and company's assets. Next is no par value stock. Is a stock that does not have a par value and dividend is quoted as a peso amount per share. Next is the cumulative preferred stock. Cumulative preferred stock is a type of preferred stock that receives a dividend each year. The dividend in areas is the amount of dividends that accumulate and own to cumulative preferred shareholders before for past years in which no dividend are paid. Next is the non-participating stocks means that shareholders receive only fixed dividend, while the participating stocks means that the shareholder may receive additional dividends if the company performs well. Convertible preferred means the stock may be exchanged for a specified number of common shares in the future. So these are the following formulas used in stocks. First is the formula used in finding the dividend per share. So dividend per share is equal to total common dividend over total number of shares. And the formula in computing the total preferred dividend is total preferred dividend is equal to number of shares multiplied by the dividend per share. Next is the total common dividend. We'll be going to use this formula if we will be going to find the total common dividend. Total common dividend is equal to total dividend minus the total preferred dividend. And the fourth one is the dividend per share preferred. Dividend per share is equal to par value multiplied by the dividend rate. So let's have here the example. A stockholder's ownership of a company can be computed using the formula. This is the formula if we were going to find the stockholders' ownership of a company or the total ownership of the stockholders. So the formula is P is equal to S sub O over S sub T, where P is equal to part of the stockholders' ownership of the company, S sub O is equal to number of shares of which the stockholders owns, and S sub T is the total number of shares issued by a company. And for the total number of dividend, we will going to use this formula. N is equal to par value multiplied by the dividend rate and multiplied by the number of share. First example. Mr. Elmer Manansala owns 350 shares of stocks in a company that instead 70,000 share. What part of the company is owned by Mr. Manansala? So in this problem, in this example, we're going to find the total ownership of Mr. Manansala in a certain company. So let's have here the given. Given is the number of share or the S sub O is equal to 350 and the total number of share or the S sub T is equal to 70,000. We're going to find the part of stockholders ownership in a company. So we'll use this formula P is equal to S sub O over S sub T. Let's substitute the given. So the P is equal to S sub O is equal to 350 and the S sub T is 70,000. So P is equal to 350 divided by 70,000. This is P is equal to 1 over 200 or P is equal to 0.005%. Therefore, Mr. Manansala owns 0.005% of the company share. So let's have here the second example. KKR Mining Company declared a 800 million pesos dividend for its common stocks. If there were 2,500,000 shares of common stocks, how much is the dividend per share? So in this problem, we will going to find the dividend per share. So given the total number of dividend is 800 million and the total number of shares is 2,500,000. Find the dividend per share. So the formula is the dividend per share is equal to total number of dividend over the total number of shares. So DPS or the dividend per share, we're going to substitute the given, which is the total number of dividend is 800 million and the total number of shares is 2,500,000. So the dividend per share is equal to 320 pesos. Therefore, the amount of dividend per share in KKR Mining Company is 320 pesos. Let's proceed to the third example. KKR Mining Company declared a 2.5% dividend on stock with a par value of 750 pesos. If Mr. Manansala owns 450 shares, how much dividend will he receive? So, in this problem, we will find the total dividend of Mr. Manansala will receive. So, the given is the dividend rate is equal to 2.5 or 0.025. The par value is the 750 pesos and number of shares is 450. So, find N. The formula is N is equal to par value times dividend rate times number of shares. So, we're going to substitute all the given. So, the par value is 750 multiplied by 0.025 and multiplied by 450. So, the N there is the 8,437.50 pesos. Therefore, the amount of dividend Mr. Manansala will receive is 8,437.50 pesos. Let's proceed on bonds. So bonds are the loans provided to an organization like government, business, company, or corporation. Debt instrument with a promise to pay back with interest. A person who invests on bonds called bondholder. So these are the formula in computing the bond. So in interest on bond, the formula is I is equal to par value times rate times number of months divided by 12 months. And the current yield is Y is equal to annual interest rate over purchase rate. So for us to learn deeper, let's have here the example. The example 1 is find the periodic interest on a bond with a par value of 80,000 pesos which pays 4% interest in 6 months. So in this problem, we will going to find the interest on bond. So given par value is 80,000 pesos and rate is equal to 4% or 0.04. Time is equal to 6 months over 12 months. So find I. So this is the formula. The I is equal to par value times rate times number of months over 12 months. So let's substitute all the given. The par value is 80,000 times the rate is 0.04 or 4% multiplied by 6 months, and the 6 months there we will going to divide it by 12 months. I is equal to, so let's multiply it all, and I is equal to 1,600 pesos. Therefore, the periodic interest on bond is 1,600 pesos. Second example. So, compute the current yield of a bond whose par values is 40% and which pays an annual interest of 5% if it is purchased at A par value, B 45,000, and C is 38,000. So, in this problem, we will going to compute or find the current yield. First, we will find the current yield in a par value of 40,000. So the given par value is equal to 40,000. The rate is 5% or the 0.05. Purchase price is 40%. And find Y. So the formula is Y is equal to annual interest rate over purchase price. So the annual interest rate is 40,000 times 0.05 over 40,000. So 40,000 times 0.05 is equal to 2,000 over 40,000. Y is equal to 0.05 or 5%. Therefore, the current yield of a bond purchased at 40,000 pesos is 5%. So let's have here the given B, which is we will going to find the current yield in a purchase price of 45,000. So the par value is equal to 40,000 pesos and the rate is 5% is equal to 0.05, and the purchase price is 45,000. Find Y. So the formula is Y, or the current yield, is equal to annual interest price over purchase price. Y is equal to, let's substitute all the given. The annual interest is 40,000 pesos and times 0.05 over 45,000, and Y is equal to 40,000 times 0.05 is 2,000 over 45,000. Y is equal to 0.044 or 4.44%. Therefore, the current yield of a bond purchase at 45,000 is 4.44%. So let's have here the given C. Let's find the current yield in a purchase price 38,000. So the par value is 40,000 pesos and the rate is 5% is equal, or the 0.05. Purchase price is equal to 38,000. Find the current yield. So the formula is the same formula of what we use from the given A and B. So Y is equal to annual interest times rate over purchase price. Y is equal to 40,000 times 0.05 over 38,000. So Y is equal to 2,000 over 38. Y is equal to 0.0526 is or the 5.26%. Therefore, the current yield of a bond purchase at 38,000 pesos is 5.26%. So let's have here the mutual fund. When the assets of a company are in stocks and bonds, it is an investment trust. This type of the companies with a wide variety of investment goals use stocks and bonds with the hope that the value of securities will increase. Investors purchase shares of stock of the fund. If the fund is successfully invested, it pays dividend and capital gain to its shareholders. One example of investment trust is mutual fund. In mutual fund, investors choose a fund with financial goals similar to them. Investors who put their money to a pool along with many other investors share and funds profit and losses from the investment portfolio. The money invested in mutual fund are handled by professionals whose job is to reach and evaluate stocks. The value of a share in a fund depends on the daily performance of the stocks is called net asset value of funds, which is calculated by the formula below. So this is the formula of in finding the new asset value. So the new asset value is equal to total fund asset minus the liabilities plus the number of outstanding shares. So for us to learn how to compute the new asset value, let's have here the example. A mutual fund has 18 billion worth of stocks, 1.15 billion worth of bonds, and 1.7 billion in cash. The fund's total liabilities amount is 750 million pesos. There are 1 billion shares outstanding. Elena invested 12,000 in this fund. Calculate the net asset value of a mutual fund and find the number of shares well purchased. So in this example, we will going to find the net asset value of a mutual fund. So the given are the total fund asset is 18 billion plus 1.5 billion plus 1.7 billion is equal to 20.85 billion pesos. And the liabilities is equal to 750 million. The number of outstanding shares is equal to 1 billion. And amount of investment is equal to 12,000 pesos. So let's compute this. Compute for the net asset value of the mutual fund. The formula is the net asset value is equal to total fund asset minus the liabilities plus number of outstanding shares. So the net asset value, so the total of all the net asset value is the 20,850,000 minus 700 minus the 750 million plus the 1 billion is equal to 330.15 million pesos. 30.15 pesos. Therefore, the net asset of the value is 30. Given problem, let's compute for the number of shares to be purchased. So we are done computing the net asset value. Let's just substitute it. So the number of shares to be purchased is equal to amount to be invested plus net asset value. So the number of shares to be purchased is 12,000 plus the net asset value that we have computed is 30.15. And the number of shares to be purchased is equal to 398 shares. Therefore, Elena will purchase 398 shares of the total mutual funds. So thank you everyone. That's all for my topic, and thank you for listening. I hope you understand something, and I hope you learned something from me. Thank you. Bye.
Good day everyone, I am Mae Flor Jagunos, the last reporter of Team 5, and I am assigned to discuss about home ownership. So without further ado, let's proceed to the topic by first knowing what it means. So home ownership, so it is the fact of owning your own home. And as simple as that sounds, home owning is not just home buying, because you have to consider a process in which you need to plan for a house, set aside the money that you'll use for the down payment, then looking up for a property, bargaining, applying for a home loan, and then agreement drafting, and also the property registration. So this is probably the longest and the largest investment one will make in their entire life. If an individual purchases a home, he generally makes a down payment and finances the remaining balance with a loan obtained through banks or financial institution. And this is where mortgage comes into the picture. So mortgage is a loan used to finance the purchase of a real estate secured by the property itself, usually with a specific payment periods and interest rate. So it is also an agreement between you or the borrower and the lender that gives the lender the right to take your property if you fail to repay the money you borrowed, plus the interest. So mortgage loans are used to buy a home. This can usually last from 15 to 30 years, which can be acquired through some private financial institutions like the banks or through pag-ibig housing loans. So the mortgager is the person who borrows money for buying a property, or the borrower, while the mortgagee is the person or an organization such as banks that lends money to someone for buying a property, or the lender. Next is the mortgage contract. So mortgage contract is an agreement or a legal agreement or document wherein the borrower agrees to pay back the loan, often with interest in monthly installments over a set period of time. And then the property owner also grants the lender the legal right to take over or to seize the property if the borrower shows default in the payment of the loan. And when the last payment of the loan is rendered, then the lender turns over the title or the proof of the ownership to the borrower. So to fully understand about mortgage, here are a sample situation. This will help us know about the fundamental operations, such as finding the mortgage, the monthly mortgage payment, and then the total mortgage payments, as well as the total interest paid, and the payoff or the balance mortgage that still need to be paid. So the situation is, the purchase price of a home in a subdivision in Makati City is 4,200,000 pesos. A down payment of 20% is made and secures a loan on the remaining balance for 25 years at an annual rate interest of 6%. So in this, we will to find the monthly mortgage payment, total payment, and as well as the amount of the interest paid. So in finding the monthly mortgage payment, we first need to know the how much is the down payment as well as the mortgage or the amount loan. So in finding the down payment, we only need to multiply the selling price and the rate of the down payment, which is already given in the example. So the selling price is 4,200,000 multiplied by 20% or by 0.20 will give us the product of 840,000. We already find our down payment or found our down payment, which is 840,000. We can now proceed to finding the mortgage or the amount loan. So to find the mortgage or the amount of the loan, we only need to subtract the down payment, which is 840,000, from the selling price, which is 4,200,000. This will give us a result of 3,360,000 pesos. So that is the mortgage or the amount of the loan. But how much is the monthly mortgage payment or the amount that the borrower has to pay every month for over 25 years? So to find the monthly mortgage payment, we are to use the formula presented in the slide. So R is the regular payment or the monthly payment, and then A is the loan amount, R is the annual interest rate, then T is the number of years, which is 25 years, and then M is the number of payment per year. So we are to pay monthly, so that is M is 12 because there are 12 months per year. And then we are to substitute the given to the following equation. So R is equals to 3 mil, open parentheses, 3,360,000, close parentheses, multiplied by 0.005. So our interest, this is the monthly interest, because as you can see in the example, the annual rate interest of 6% is given. So annual means yearly, but we will to pay monthly, so we still need to divide the annual or the yearly interest rate by 12 because there are 12 months per year. So we then obtain the result of 0.005. So that is the monthly interest rate over 1 minus, open parentheses, 1 plus, and the monthly interest rate, which is 0.005, then close parentheses, that is raised to negative 300. So it will give us the result of 21,648.53 cents. So that is the monthly mortgage payment that the borrower has to pay for every month in the entire 25 years. So if you want to know the total mortgage payments, you just need to multiply the monthly payments and the number of total payments. So the number of total payments can be found if you multiply the years, which in here is 25, by the monthly payments, which is 12. So 25 times 12 is 300. That is the total number of payment. So multiply it by the monthly mortgage payment, which is 21,648.53 cents. So that will give us a result of 6,494,559 cents. So that is the total amount of the mortgage payment that the borrower did for 25 years. So if you also want to know the amount of interest paid, you only need to subtract the amount of mortgage from the total mortgage payment. So our total mortgage payment is 6,499,559 subtract or minus 3,360,000 pesos, which is the amount of the mortgage. This will give us 3,134,559 cents. So that is the amount of the total amount of the interest paid. Another example, so Miss Molina has a monthly payment of 12,700 pesos in a 20-year loan at an annual interest rate of 5.7%. After making payments for 15 years, she decided to sell the house. What is the payoff for the mortgage? So this example is quite different from the one that we had earlier because the regular payment is already been given, and what we are to find is the remaining balance or remaining debt that Miss Molina still needs to pay. So we will apply the APR loan payoff formula, and then in the example, Miss Molina had made payments for 15 years, and 15 multiplied by 12 will give us the total number of payments of 180. And so this is a 20-year loan, and there is still 5 years that she has to pay in order to complete the 20-year loan. So we will to find how much is the balance that Miss Molina still needs to pay. So the formula is reflected in the presentation in the slide, and then the given also is already been said. So now let's proceed in substituting the given to the formula. So we have here 12,700, which is the monthly payment, and then brackets, open brackets, 1 minus open parenthesis 1 plus the monthly interest rate. So monthly interest rate again can be obtained by um, dividing the the rate or the annual rate interest by the months of the or the period of the payment, which in the example here monthly, so we have to divide it over 12. So 5.7% or 0.057 divided by 12 will give us the result of 0.00475. So that is the monthly interest rate. So then close parenthesis back to the equation, and then raise to the power of negative 60, because 5 years multiplied by 12 will give us 60, and that is the years that Miss Molina will have to pay. So over 0.00475, then close brackets, and then this will give us the result of 661,678.45 cents. So that is the amount that Miss Molina still needs to pay, or that is her balance for the remaining 5 years in her mortgage. So that's the end of my discussion, and I hope that you've learned something out from our group report. And thank you, and God bless.